Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. First and foremost, sorry for the lack of uploads last week. I think I only uploaded one video. My dad was visiting, so I was spending time with him. I'm going to try and make up for that by doing 6 videos a week this week like I used to do. You typically do 3, but I'm going to go for 6 now. And I'm going to start this week off with a retro review of the game Jet Pac by Rare. This is their very first game in their catalog. It's the first game on the Rare Replay on the Xbox. This is before they were known as Rare, but this is the first game in their catalog. I played this first on Donkey Kong 64, and you likely did as well. This is not one that you probably would just have around. I believe it was for old computers back in the day. You play it on Cranky's computer in Donkey Kong 64, and you need to beat a certain amount of levels to get the Rare coin in order to actually beat the game. I thought it was really fun back then, and I think it's pretty darn fun now as an adult. I thought it was pretty hard as a kid, and I think that there are some aspects that make it hard as an adult, but it's not nearly as hard as I remember it being as a child. The basic premise of Jet Pac is your little astronaut guy with a jetpack. You press up to fly around and you move left and right, and you can shoot out of your gun to take out the enemies. They're trying to stop you from building your spaceship in the first level and the first level of each grouping of 4 levels, and then refueling your ship and leaving to get to the next level. The basic premise, you just fly up, pick up the ship piece, fly over the base where it's at the bottom of the level, and it will drop down, secure, you get the top piece, let it secure, and then fuel will drop, these little purple canisters of fuel. Once you've gotten enough of them, and it will fill up the spaceship, and then you're able to get in it and blast off to the next level. Enemies will try and stop you. They spawn from either side, which is very nice for the most part, but you can also go between sides. You can go all the way off the left side and come back in on the right side, and they can spawn on top of you sometimes, which can feel a little cheap, but that usually doesn't happen. And if you're smart about the way you position yourself and abuse the amount of enemies that can appear on screen, you can get around that because of the way that the game was programmed. You can only have, I don't know exactly the number of enemies on screen at a time, but it can only get to a certain point. So if you see the max number of enemies on the screen, then can spawn. So as long as you're avoiding them and not destroying them, they won't spawn in inconvenient places. Also, it slows down the more you shoot. If you're just holding fire button the entire time, the game will slow down a little bit, making it a little bit easier to navigate. Those are some of the tips and tricks that I was able to do in order to beat this game. I tried to beat this one straight up because it is, an older game. It shouldn't be one that you have a really hard time with. And I was able to do that, getting all 16 levels beaten. Like I said before, the first level of each grouping, you have to actually build the ship, but then each subsequent level, the 3 subsequent levels after that, you just refuel the ship, and then you get Mark II version of that. Each level gets harder and harder. You'll get different enemy types. The first ones are pretty basic. They just fly in a little diagonal straight, a diagonal line going down. They're pretty easy to take out. They don't really get in your way much. You'll get other ones where they kind of lock into your location, try and home in on you, or they have erratic bouncing around the screen patterns. The enemies do different things based on the shape that they are. They're nice designed. I think that the whole design of the game is very nice despite its simplicity. I think this game is very, very fun as well. If you're playing it on Rare Replay, you do have the rewind functionality, which is very nice if you're trying to go for all 16 levels, because the latter ones can get fairly difficult. You also have little things that will drop that will give you extra bonus points to contribute toward extra lives, which you will likely need because, like I said, the later levels can get a little more difficult when the enemies start locking in on you and they trap you from either side and you can't shoot fast enough. That can be a little bit difficult. Despite the simplicity of this game, it is still a good time. It's a very basic arcade-style experience, and it's very fun to do. If you have Rare Replay, I would recommend going and doing this one. This game was also actually included in Jet Pac Refueled, which is a remake of the original game. They have a rebuilt version of it, so it's not the exact version of the original. They remade it for it. It's actually a little bit different. I'll talk about that because I finished Jet Pac Refueled recently. It was a ton of fun. I'll talk about that when I do the review of that, but it is different in small ways, primarily since they rebuilt it. It doesn't have any of the slowdown issues like I talked about earlier, but it's basically the same thing there. But Jet Pac itself is still a very fun experience. If you have your old cartridge of DK64, go play it, see how high a score you can get, or if you have it on Rare Replay. I would really love to hear if you have played this one before. I'd love to hear how far you've gotten, if you've completed all 16 levels. It then just loops after that, so you can just go for high scores. Again, very arcade-style-y. But yeah, it's a very basic experience. It's still a lot of fun, and it's worth busting out if you happen to have a copy of it on the two games that I referenced, or if you happen to have an original game. If you're one of those people that has the original, I remember this happened with Gunfright. Someone mentioned they had it on their MSX, I believe it was. Please let me know. I would love to hear that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Oh, before I forget, sorry. Wow, I can't believe I almost ended the video without giving a ranking. I'm going to be giving Jet Pac a silver rank. I think it's very good. I think it's nothing more than that. It's a very concise experience. You don't need a ton of time in this one, but it is worth your time. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.